Last week, Tom Catanzaro, a distinguished veterinarian and business consultant to the profession and a very good friend of mine, responded to my blog about practice strategy. Tom was kind enough to let me have a copy of a monograph document he published some 10 years ago. At first sight, the title sounds a bit heavy, but the content includes a dozen or more golden nuggets of information, or as Tom describes them, reality checks, and which I believe are fundamental to the success of any veterinary practice. The one I want to specifically refer to in this week's blog has to do with compliance. It's probably not the most appropriate word, but what I'm talking about is the difference between the number of recommended procedures, diagnostic measures and treatments recorded in many clinical records and the number actually carried out over the following few weeks. It can of course be a serious issue, and a detailed review of 50 consecutive consultations and follow-up records in a number of practices suggests that 25% or more clinical recommendations simply aren't being followed up. Why is it happening? Well, most vets will tell you that it's all the client's fault. They simply won't do what's been recommended. I think that's just an excuse. The real reason in most cases is poor communication, a lack of appropriate management, follow-up procedures, and clients confused by the conflicting advice they receive from the practice. That's where the clinical freedom problem comes in. It's essential in my view that for most long-term clinical problems, preventive medicine and wellness issues such as dental care, the veterinary team should discuss, debate and agree a number of protocols, perhaps unique for that practice, and which are understood, supported and promoted by every member of the team. They'll need to be monitored on a regular basis and be subject to review by the clinical team every so often and updated as and when necessary. Of course, individual vets must retain individual clinical freedom to deal with acute clinical problems, trauma and the like, subject if needs be to subsequent discussion and endorsement by their peers. But nothing causes as much discontent and confusion for clients or frustration for other members of the team when it's clear that the clinical advice offered by one of the vets in the practice is not shared by the others. That's why I would choose not to own or work in a practice which promoted individual clinical freedom as a major benefit for their employee vets. Please take a look at Tom Catanzaro's website at the link underneath this screen and see how you can access the many monographs and books and papers he's published over the years. You'll be very glad that you did. See you next time.